Hi, folks. I'm Dr. Larry Kavanaugh, and thanks for joining this YouTube video. You saw the title of the video, which is Purgatory Goes Viral. And some of you who have clicked on my channel before this might say, oh, God, he's back on the subject of purgatory again. Let's kill him. He's crazy. That's because 2 years ago, I gave a talk at my parish churches, St. Jude and Immaculate Conception, on the subject Visions of Purgatory, which was based on a collection from a bright young teenager named Carlo Acutis, all about famous people and saints down through the ages who had visions of things that happened in purgatory. And I did point out that some of the visions of one person apparently contradicted some of the visions by others. The talk that I gave had a total audience, live audience, of fewer than 100 people. But when I recorded it and put it on YouTube, the talk got clicked on by more than 30,000 people, and comments were registered by more than 500 people. And at least half of those comments were sharply negative, such as, "You idiot, don't you know there's no such thing as purgatory? Why are you even bothering with this?" However, the other half was just as sharply positive, saying, "Of course there's a purgatory. There has to be a place for cleaning, and the Catholic Church endorses it." The two sides were completely irreconcilable. But that's okay, because this is America, where we don't shoot each other by having differences of religious opinions. It's okay to be on either side of this issue. At any rate, it was just too good to have a hot controversy like this and not use it for the title of a book. And today I want to talk about this new book. It has the same title as this video, which is Purgatory Goes Viral. And it is the third book in the series that I call the Louisa Trilogy. The good news is this book is now available on Amazon, and you can get it on Kindle or paperback or hardback. Just type in Purgatory Goes Viral or type in my name on Amazon, and you'll see it all there, and I hope you enjoy it. This book is not a religious book, and the trilogy is not a religious series. It's about a young PhD, namely me, who started to work for NASA headquarters as soon as he got his doctorate, and after a few years, moved to a rural spot in central Virginia called Louisa, which is close to Charlottesville. He was well placed there to maintain an academic connection with the University of Virginia and not to lose touch with his NASA connections. But mainly, he did it to raise 6 children with a wonderful wife, punch a lot of cattle, grow a lot of corn, and learn how to become a bona fide farmer, because he didn't grow up knowing how to do any of this stuff. So it was an odyssey of misadventures, but they were happy misadventures. Good Lord, I made a lot of mistakes in trying to run a farm, but my mistakes were not limited to farming. I also developed a couple of real estate subdivisions, built a country club and a golf course, built a sundial 48 feet tall, and several other things, none of which I knew how to do, but I learned. And you can learn too. Anybody can. Well, you got to work at it. So this trilogy is mainly about misadventures, happy misadventures. The first book in the trilogy, Nobody Here Wears Ostrich Leather Boots, was intended to be a good, fun read. You could take it to the beach and enjoy it. The second book, which was called Outrageous Tales of Old Louisa, was when I got to thinking about this new place that I was living, Louisa, Virginia, right in the middle of central Virginia, a state that is just loaded with history. The Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the home of presidents, close to the nation's capital. With all that history that surrounds us, there's not much you ever hear about Louisa County. That's because not a huge amount of history has happened in this county. Well, Patrick Henry lived here, but he wasn't even in the county when he gave his famous speech. So for a county that is surrounded by that much history and doesn't have some of its own, the thing to do is invent some history. In that spirit, the second book in the trilogy is a series of tall tales about Louisa County, made up by a fictitious organization called the Faux History Society. And this faux history, which is outrageous, far-fetched, totally exaggerated, mostly untrue, almost entirely untrue, but woven around real history, was also a fun read. Now, this brings us to the third book, which is in the spotlight today. I realized that there are many misadventures that were shamefully left out in the first book. This new book starts with my life at my undergraduate institution, which was Notre Dame. I had wonderful experiences at Notre Dame, even though my high school principal told me, and he was a Jesuit, do not go to this school. They're bad. Go to a Jesuit school. If my high school principal told me not to go, it's for sure I would move heaven and earth to make sure I did go. So Notre Dame was the only college I applied to. And thank goodness I got accepted. Well, in those days, in the residence dorms at Notre Dame, you mingled with football players. The football team was scattered throughout every residence hall on campus. We had two very big guys who lived in our dorm, and I was able to organize an arm wrestling tournament between them. It really attracted a good crowd, 300 people coming to the dining hall to see it. Very much fun, and much other fun. On an endearing note, as life went on and I developed friends, we got to know a special priest. He was in his 80s and he was famous. He had written lots of books and lots of pamphlets. In fact, the theology department at the University of Notre Dame is now named after him. His name was Father John A. O'Brien. At that time, he was retired, living in a tiny garret room on the top floor of the administration building, a floor that was nearly abandoned and nobody visited. He said Mass there every morning at 7 o'clock, usually all by himself. 5 of us friends said, he's lonely. Nobody comes to his Mass. So we volunteered to be his altar boys on a rotating basis. We didn't guarantee to be with him every day, only on the days when at least one of us could get up before 7 o'clock. But yet, the relationship that we developed with him was irreplaceable. It will live with me the rest of my life. After Notre Dame, going to graduate school at Rice University in Houston, I had terrible anxieties trying to get a PhD because the thesis topic that I picked up turned out to be impossible. Midstream in the process, I had to reverse my topic and come up with a completely new one. Nerve-wracking, but it got done. Then off to NASA headquarters. I was thrilled that they hired me as a scientist. Stayed at NASA for several years before the aforementioned move to the farm. A few extracurriculars while at NASA included my kids getting tear gassed at the Washington Monument, getting waved at by Nixon, receiving a set of friendly letters from a Russian scientist who was trying to probe me for some chatter about what we were doing at NASA, and a few other things. Leaving NASA and moving to the farm was pretty much covered in the first book. So I'm skipping that part for the third book. Among other things, we ran a bus service to send our kids, plus a dozen or so other Louisa kids when they needed to go to Charlottesville. We called it the Tunaville Trolley. And in the blink of an eye, we find ourselves suddenly now in the age of grandchildren. I have some crazy and lovable grandchildren. One of them wrote epic poetry as a 5-year-old. Another one became a bartender as a 9-year-old, making black and tans for all the adults in the family. These are fun people to be around. Beyond grandchildren, what? Happy retirement? I do not believe in retirement. I am now an octogenarian. I'm 81 years old, and as I record this, but I can't quit life. And I hope you don't either. So what do? Well, I got a bucket list of things to talk about. In fact, writing this book is part of my bucket list. And a lot of it is fun. I talk about that in the book. And then, of course, this Purgatory goes viral thing. The whole reason for titling the book that way was to revisit some of the god awful things that people said about me, and to hope that someday soon I can give another talk that people get excited about in the same way and cuss at me in the same way. That's it. I have only told you a smidgen about Purgatory Goes Viral. You ought to read the book. It will be just as much fun to take it to the beach as the other two, and it will round out almost everything I wanted to say about Louisa. Oh, but wait a minute. Oh, shucks. I just remembered something else. Too bad. So get the book and see if you don't like it. I'm sure Amazon won't give you your money back if you don't like it, but you'll have a nice book to put on your shelf. Take care and have a great day. Bye.